I feel good.
Do you feel that your voice is being heard today, Jared?
I always do.
Okay, I hope so.
You as you say, you do talk a lot. That's true.
Yep.
By the way,
No
but
doubts
you are
about
also
that.
a very good listener. You know.
Yeah, well, it takes two to tango on this podcast, Jared. That is for sure. But we are back out here doing a porch podcast.
Dude, I missed it.
The three-piece today, the porch podcast about perceptions of wealth coming to you. We're going to talk about some reasons why wealth or people who have a lot of, a lot of money, to put it pretty frankly, how that can be perceived in different cultures and why that might be. Now, granted, these are just our opinions, our thoughts, our ideas. So this is not a scientific, research on the perceptions of wealth, but just kind of what we've kind of observed and our own thoughts as Americans and how other people view it as well. So I think it'll be interesting.
When you were a kid, did you think that there was a pretty good chance that you were going to be rich?
I wasn't really sure, to be honest with you. When I was a kid, it was more of a mindset of, man, it would be awesome to be rich. Not, oh yeah, I'm going to be rich, but man, it would be awesome to be rich. I would say, I grew up kind of middle class. Definitely didn't grow up super wealthy or anything. No private jet rides or butlers or nannies or what have you.
What?
But my parents worked hard for what they have, and I think I work pretty hard myself, as you do too, Jared. And but I think the interesting thing about perceptions of wealth is that I do think the idea of, and I'm not saying this is the answer, but I'm saying this is one lens to view this and to discuss it, is through the idea of kind of individualism and collectivism, where some cultures, I think the emphasis is more on the community, so we would consider that more of a collective culture per se, whereas I think in the U.S. it's a fairly safe thing to say that in a lot of places in the U.S. it's more about individual freedoms, individual rights. So
it's interesting that you say that, because I think a big part of perception of wealth is what the rich person does with that money.
Yeah,
so
definitely
people look at Bill Gates differently than they look at Jeff Bezos, I feel like.
And why do you think that might be, Jared?
Because Bill Gates is he's a charitable person, and he seems like he's dedicated to, being charitable with most of his, a good portion of his money. And Bezos is not known for being charitable. Now, maybe he does give to charity and people don't know. I guess that's very possible. But people feel like people, meaning poor people, like myself. Well, listen, if you're talking about
comparing to Jeff Bezos, we're all poor.
We're all poor
for sure.
We a lot of normal people, I feel like, have some sort of they expect you to do stuff with your money, and people look down on you if you keep it to yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think it's viewed as being greedy. There's no way. Right. There's no way that Jeff Bezos, logistically speaking, could spend that much money in, probably 2, 3, 4 lifetimes.
Right. Even if he just balled out like a idiot.
Right. Right. Like that's
like
the
a
thing.
Yacht a day.
Right.
Kinda.
When you get into that level of wealth, it's on a whole nother playing field. And I think for a lot of people, it's hard to grasp that. I mean, it's hard for us to grasp it too in some ways, because, we haven't experienced it, and
we have to consider purchases over $50, $100. We have to think, is this worth it?
Second guess, do I really need to go out to eat this week?
Yeah.
Right. Very, very different priorities. But I think that does bring an interesting point, Jared, about charitability, where, if you do, I think there are a lot of people, though, that do have, a significant amount of wealth that are very charitable.
Sure.
With it. But you are right that if they are charitable or not does play a big role in how people view them, and I think how people overall view wealthy people. Which is interesting, because I guarantee you there are some wealthy people out there who probably give a lot in charity and we don't even know about it, or they even start up, foundations and other stuff where we have no idea. So it's interesting too, because I think wealth is this, it's really subjective. what you and I might consider wealthy as college-educated Americans is probably very different than a lot of other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that, I think, adds another level of, how do you put it, just another layer in terms of kind of how you can view it. How you can perceive it as a good or a bad thing. Because I think if you're really poor, you can also view people who you may consider wealthy differently than, for you or me, for example. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So can we save the rest of this conversation for the main topic?
I think we can.
Can we, first of all, talk about President-elect? Last episode, by the way, this is Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
We started the episode talking about how they still don't know who the president was. It was 264 to 2...
We jinxed ourselves, I guess, didn't we?
or 217.
We should have known.
By the time we ended that episode, hour and a half later, we were getting notifications that he got the electoral votes, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So
274, baby.
So I thought it said 284.
273.
I thought it said 284.
No, not yet. Well, they haven't counted all of them. Yeah, Google it now. Let's see.
They never.
I mean, it is literally changing, though, Jared, as we're talking about this,
That's true.
But yeah, you're right. So yeah, last episode we didn't have a president, which is going to be funny now because it will be coming out and we will have
290 to 214.
Is it at 290 now?
Apparently they called Nevada.
Really? Wow.
And apparently, according to the Google, just the Google map.
Okay.
Apparently they also called Pennsylvania. We knew that. There's a chance, and so yeah, they called Nevada and Pennsylvania, which is all he would need.
Right.
And so North Carolina and Georgia still aren't done. North Carolina is leaning red. Georgia's leaning blue.
Either way, Trump can't win it.
Right,
he can't win now.
Exactly. You need 270.
I wonder what's going to happen now, and this will be coming out on Thursday, so we'll see. Maybe by Thursday there will be some other things going on. But I hope there will be a peaceful transition. I hope that everything will be fine. I hope that Trump doesn't I hope he uses these last few months he has in office for good. I'm being very optimistic right now. We'll see what will happen.
Sorry, I looked at Twitter for 3 seconds. And
what did it say?
I already started cracking
clowning?
up. Well, I follow comedians and stuff.
Right.
Someone said, "Is it too late to say Biden fingered me?" What's my favorite right now? Thinking about who's going to tell him he has to leave conversation that's going on in the White House. Like the person that has to be like,
yeah,
you lost, man. You gotta go.
Right.
Let's get a pic/video thread of MAGA people crying.
That's hilarious. Oh my God, that's too funny. And Trump hasn't tweeted anything out yet, has he?
I guess I'll tell you. I'll tell you.
Let's see. I'm really curious.
The last thing he tweeted was 2 hours ago.
Okay.
I won this election by a lot.
Oh,
this is terrible. I should not be laughing, but that's exactly what you would you would think you shouldn't do. And of course, that's the top of his.
Of course, top of his Twitter feed. Of course.
And then right under that, there's an exclamation point and writing by Blue. I imagine that's Twitter. By the way, 631,000 retweets from 2 hours. It's been out.
I'll bet.
Official sources may not have called the race when this was tweeted. That's what he's saying. That's what, Twitter says. I won this election by a lot.
That's right, Jared, by a lot.
And then before that, he tweeted that Georgia continues using same software as Michigan counties that also encountered glitches.
Mm-hmm.
This is hard to watch. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
This is
interesting.
As I said, by the way, so. The first prediction that it seems like I got right, by the way. Now we can
can talk about
almost validate that I was right.
Yep.
That Biden did win.
Yep.
But as I told you, I feel like I'm more, at least in the short term, I'm more concerned for what could happen, like the backlash,
right, in
the short term from Biden winning rather than Trump winning.
What kind of backlash are you worried about?
I'm talking, AR-15s at Capitol buildings in swing states. I'm talking.
I don't think I hope it won't come to that. I don't think it will, but I hope.
I love how you think that conservatives would not want to find an excuse to bring out their guns and.
Right. Oh, I'm sure they would. I will say this though, based on the way it happened.
I mean, obviously,
last
I don't
time,
want that to happen.
Based on the way it happened in Michigan last time, You're right, though. That'll be interesting because, it boggles my mind that people literally went into a government building with all these guns.
Exactly.
I don't get it. Like, I really don't get how the cops didn't intervene. Maybe they were worried there'd be a giant gunfight. I have no idea, but it's
yeah, but they don't seem to have that same concern during protests.
Right.
You know, like about inciting violence. Now, obviously, there's probably less guns involved, but there's not as. It's just interesting where the concern lies that they're not wanting to incite violence and wanting to, allow people their space to do their First or Second Amendment right. Not Second and First Amendment
right.
Right. So let's give them their space. But it's
crazy stuff, man.
It's crazy,
crazy stuff.
You still don't have any shout outs, I'm guessing.
Actually, well, hold your horses there.
I actually did have one, but I forgot it, so I don't have one.
Where was it? Hold up, I had one. I thought, maybe not. All right, well, Jared. Yes, yeah, okay. So this is kind of a crazy story. Did you hear what went down in Vienna last week, or when this drops, like a week and a half ago?
Is this something involving a synagogue?
Well, yes, kind of.
I feel like I saw something about some sort of shooting at a...
Yes,
okay.
So there was a shooting in Vienna. I don't know all the details about it, but I just want to read this story here. I do have,
Was it at a synagogue?
Well, here, that's not related to this. It's kind of related to this story. So
it seems related.
So here's the headline. And I don't know how I feel about this headline, but here it is. This is the headline.
Okay. This is a good sign.
2 Austrian Turks save policemen and 2 elderly women in Vienna attack. 2 Austrians of Turkish descent.
So you don't like that they're focusing so much on them being Turkish?
I mean, right. Because, you say they're Austrian Turks. Why can't you just call them Austrians?
Yeah.
Why do you have to bring it in that they're
That's kind of like the same thing, though, when it's like, police kill black unarmed. Right. And it's like, well, why do you have to call them black? Why can't you just say...
Right.
But yeah, I hear it. It almost seems a little heavy-handed. It's like...
Right.
First of all, are there pictures in there? Because if their pictures are in the article, it's like you're going to see them.
Yep.
You don't need to force feed it to
right.
them.
Yeah, and right here...
It's a little heavy-handed, I'll be honest with you.
Like, this is according to TRT World, the headline that they have.
And it's almost like, can you believe it? These Turkish people did something good.
Right. That's why I don't like it. I don't think it necessarily matters, per se.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's a headline. We live in a clickbaity time now, Jared. Anyways, but even the video thumbnail here from TRT World says, Turkish men hailed as heroes of Vienna attack. But here they're not even Austrian now. They're Turkish. So what is it?
This is kind of like what Özil was talking about,
right?
Which is why he doesn't want to play for the German national team anymore. He's like, when I do well, I'm a German, and when I mess up, I'm Turkish.
Right. Yeah. So here's the story though, Jared. So, and this is kind of the funny thing is that the headline right here, it starts off with 2 Austrians of Turkish descent, Recep Tayyip, I'm sure I'll butcher these names, so my apologies, Gültekin and Mikhail Ozen risked their lives to rescue a police officer and 2 women during Monday's terrorist attack in Austria. 2 Austrian Turks saved the life of... Okay, that was the same thing. Okay. So they were in the Vienna city center when the attack began. Both headed in the direction of the incident and saw the attackers shooting at civilians. Gültekin came to the aid of an injured woman. After I carried the woman to a nearby restaurant, the terrorist pointed his gun at me. Then Gültekin hid from the gunman who was carrying a long-barrel assault gun.
This is in Austria?
Yes.
In Vienna?
In Vienna, this went down, yeah.
Damn.
However, he could not avoid being wounded. A pellet from his gun hit the back of my right leg. However, it did not cause any major injuries.
But that's all relative, but okay.
Right. But these guys are straight up heroes. Running into gunfire.
Yeah. That takes a special kind of person.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd have it in me to do that. Granted, I wonder if the average person, if you're don't have some sort of training, if you really know how you'd even react in a situation like that.
Well, yeah, I think, yeah.
But I feel like I can definitely say that I don't think I'd be the one that'll be like, let me go save and run in.
Right. Well, that's a lot of fight, or it's also kind of your fight or flight, and some of that might come with the training too. If you're trained to, I honestly, I would. I'm not going to be that guy to say I would for sure jump in. That's a bold statement to make when you've never had to do that before in your life. And we don't know.
I
how
also
people
wouldn't
react.
say I wouldn't though. Maybe his back's to me, and I'm like, if I ran right now, I guess I could just tackle him.
I think I would
or keep watching him shoot. You know,
right.
I don't know.
It's hard to say because we've obviously. I hope to God that neither of us or our listeners and everybody out there is put in these positions.
I mean, we live in the U.S., though,
but
so
right, it's
it's
hard.
only a matter of time.
Right. But the thing is that I would like to think though that if someone needed my help, like carrying someone to safety, or that must be from the. Sorry, that's from the. Jesus, that's loud.
What is that?
It's oddly from this, I think. Yeah.
Chad's got like 48 million tabs open.
Yep. Sorry about that, Jared.
And
all right,
some random shit.
Does your hearing still work? Can you still hear?
It wasn't that bad. It sounded like I was at a aquarium.
Right. No kidding. Yeah, giving you that full body experience.
It was loud, but it
definitely was
soothing.
But yeah. Anyways, though, I think this is great. So shout out, and I apologize for butchering both of your gentlemen's names. Shout out to Recep Tayyip Gultekin and Mikhail Ozun. For helping these people out during such a scary and terrible time. Something else for sure.
It is always nice to see that, like those stories that remind you that there is some humanity left in the world. It's not all bad.
Right. It's not.
Yeah.
For sure. So do you have a shout out today, or you made it sound like you might have one?
I thought I did, but I think I forgot to write it down and I forgot.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm sorry. Shout out to my mama.
There you go.
No, I guess not. Sure, why not?
Why not? Your mom's quite a great woman.
Do you want to do some untranslatables?
Let's do it.
Hold on. There we go.
Yeah, it's time for some untranslatables, which are idioms, proverbs, sayings, phrases that don't translate on a one-to-one basis into English. And I will get us started today, Jared. And this one is more to test your memory and just for the listeners out there, because this is a good untranslatable. We have used this one before, but I think this is a good one, and I think it's a little bit relatable to today's theme. It is Japanese, and it is kao ga hiroi, which means to have a wide face. Do you remember this one?
Is that like a white person, a Westerner?
No.
Okay.
although Westerners could be popular in Japan, you could say that some Westerners have a wide face.
Is that like someone that's like sneaky, like lying?
Nope.
A wide face.
I would say if you had a wide face, you would probably not be sneaky or a liar.
To be very gullible.
No.
Have a wide face. Could you use it in a sentence, or would that give it away?
Yeah. Jared and I went to a party a couple years back, and I just realized that Jared knew everybody at the party. And after I left, I just said, "Wow, Jared has quite the wide face."
Oh, is it just like a big social circle?
Yeah, or you're popular. You have a lot of friends.
Okay.
Yeah, to have a wide face.
Interesting. Is it just because interesting? I don't even need to try to explain.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is, but that is the idiom. Yeah.
All right. My first untranslatable is Russian, and it's vichavleny limon.
Something about lemon.
Yeah. A squeezed lemon.
Uh-oh. Oh, man. I got some ideas about this one, but I'm not even really sure where to begin.
Let's hear them.
Squeezed lemon. Is it like wasting your time? Like it's not like...
No.
Okay.
I'd actually say that
to have a good time.
No,
to
but
squeeze the lemon.
Maybe you did have a good time, and the next day you feel like a squeezed lemon.
You're hungover.
Not you
tired.
don't have to be. Yeah, it's just exhausted. You don't have to be hungover. I don't.
You're
think.
sleepy. You're tired. Exhausted.
Yeah, I'm a squeezed lemon. It's like you're spent.
Like
I've been all used up.
All your juice is spent. The juice has been squeezed, Jared. All right.
Yeah.
My next one is Serbian, and it is nosom para oblake, which means he's ripping clouds with his nose.
He's
ripping clouds.
Snoring?
No.
Okay. He has this.
Think about the nose. Think about the
pointy nose. He's a liar.
No. Well, I mean, not really. I mean, we have a phrase in English that has to do with nose, I think, that is kind of similar to this.
Oh, they're nosy.
No, like, not nosy.
Nose in the clouds, snorting clouds with their nose.
What does that mean? Is that a drug reference?
No,
Jared?
I'm trying to remember what the literal was. What? No. What did you say? The literal translation
Oh, the
was?
literal. He's ripping clouds with his nose.
Oh, is it someone that's very like? Oh, I know what it is. They have like their nose up, so they're very arrogant.
Yeah, very
There we
good.
go.
Very
There we
good. Yep,
You
someone
betcha.
who is excessively proud of themselves or is thinks of themselves kind of in vain. Yeah.
Okay. You know, it took some, but we got there.
Yep.
My next one is Persian, and it's Dastam be Damanet. Dastam de be Damanet.
Which means?
My hand to your skirt. Picture that.
My hand to your skirt. Is that like I mean, there's a couple options with that one. My
So,
hand to your skirt.
Imagine. Just picture. What do you just visual? What do you think when you try to visualize that? My hand to your skirt.
I mean, ideally, it'd be like I don't know. Obviously, like somebody that you like, and you're being physical with them. No. No. Okay. Nowhere near that.
No. Think of the position that someone would be in if their hand was on someone's skirt. Pulling on their skirt, maybe.
Oh, so
my
they're-
hand to your skirt.
I mean,
And
they're doing.
this is not sexual.
They could. Okay.
Just to be,
Oh, is it like a kid like pulling on
you're getting closer. You're getting
like
closer.
to get someone's attention?
Kinda, yeah, sure. I'll give that to you.
Okay.
Kinda. It's like I beg you or I implore you.
Oh, okay.
What I imagine more is like
You're
I
on
mean,
your
but
knees,
I
like,
also
begging?
knew it. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. That
Yeah,
makes
like
sense.
please.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. My last one for you is Español, Spanish. Dar calabazas a alguien.
Calabasas. That's a rich person neighborhood in Los Angeles.
Is it really?
Calabasas?
Is it really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
now I'm interested to know what that actually means.
To give someone pumpkins.
Oh, pumpkins? That's what it is?
Yep.
Oh, okay. To give someone pumpkins?
Yep. To give someone pumpkins.
Do Spanish people like pumpkins? Is that a compliment? Or is that
I'm
insulting?
thinking no,
Okay.
based on this untranslatable.
To give them nothing. Or to only give them your scraps.
Jared, I wanted to start a business for our podcast, and you gave me pumpkins.
Like I'm not giving you any like I'm not paying, not helping.
No, or I say, Jared, I really want to learn how to drive a stick better. Can I borrow your car for a couple days? And I ask you, but then you give me pumpkins.
Oh, is that to turn someone down?
There you go.
Okay.
Reject or turn somebody down. Yep, to give them pumpkins.
Gotcha. I'm gonna have to give you pumpkins on
Which
that.
I think is kind of related to our topic today, because I think a lot of, like you mentioned in the very beginning of today's episode, with people, if they're charitable with their wealth. So if they're, so I feel like if you have a lot of money and you,
Can you move that a little bit more? Sorry, is that okay?
I can
Just
try,
move
sure, but
more.
I don't know if it's going to do
It's all
much,
right.
Jared, with the where the
I
sun's at.
understand, but I feel like now I'm blacker than I've ever been because the sun is drowning out my beautiful
Because that's as
chocolate
far as it
skin.
really, yeah.
All right, whatever. That's as far as it really goes.
Yep. But yeah, anyways. Yeah, so let's talk about the perceptions of wealth
Mm-hmm.
and what's, in different countries and cultures and stuff.
All right. What's your perception of wealth? Oh, I asked you at the beginning of the pod if you sort of dreamed about being rich or like thought you would be rich. I feel like there is definitely a big part of me that's like, oh yeah, I could be like Michael Jordan rich. I'm sure like it seemed very attainable.
Okay.
Now, is that an American thing?
Probably. I also, my question for you would be,
And it was very
how would you attain that level?
I don't know, probably professional soccer player.
Okay.
And then
But when you're a kid, that's still kind of on the table a little bit.
and then it was, I feel like at least in my childhood and a lot of people's childhoods around me, it was almost kind of coveted, the idea of
To be rich.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
people were like
I do
envious
think-
of like the kids that had all the cool shit, you know.
Right. Well, I do think
I mean,
that
not
is
that that's wealth, but
right. Yeah, that's envy, not wealth. But
Yeah.
I do think that it is maybe more of a. I could be wrong about this, but I do think it is more of an American thing. To like this idea of getting rich to that level. I could be wrong, but I just feel like I feel like other countries and other cultures, like I think having wealth is important, but it's not as much. I think the motives are different.
To us, I feel like well, it used to be millionaire. Maybe it's moved on to billionaire now.
Right.
But it is really just like, I feel like a big thing for the U.S., at least when I was a kid, was to be able to say you were a millionaire.
Right.
You know?
It's a status thing. It's
and
a
like
flex.
making $1 million a year, does that make you a millionaire? Because like, first of all, if that's what it says how much you make, you got to take out the taxes first.
Right. Well,
then once you factor in all your expenses and stuff, you know, it's like, are you really living, like, I don't know, you know?
Right.
But just that idea of millionaire.
But I think the idea of wealth is also interesting because you could make a 6-figure, even 7-figure salary. But if you're, and I'm not saying people generally do this when they've hit that level of wealth, but if you do live like that and you're new to it and you don't have a lot of financial literacy, you can start buying way too, basically become house broke or car broke or whatever, where you're, now obviously if you're in the multi-millions, this probably won't happen to you, but it could.
Remember, there's a term for that.
What? Lifestyle creep.
There you go,
right? Yeah. But I think the other thing about wealth is other cultures, like the Chinese people that I talk to when they talk about wealth, a lot of it has more to do with just being able to provide comfortably for their family. And I'm not saying there aren't Americans who also share that sentiment, because there are. But I also think a lot of Americans, they think of becoming rich, maybe not being wealthy, but becoming rich. It's more of a status symbol. It's a way to flex. It's a, what I mean? It's different than, I think there's different motives behind it. And I'm not here to say it's good or bad. I'm just saying that's what it is. You know?
But if I think about perceptions, I feel like, first of all, it depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it has to do with just how people feel about a person.
Sure.
Because, like, there are people that, that like I don't know. I feel like there are people that like shit on like Kim Kardashian or something like that for flaunting their wealth, but it's like, I don't know. You're not a fan of anyone that is like, that's just, it's more that you just don't like her, not the money thing, really. And I don't know.
I think some of it comes from jealousy too.
Yes,
I think a lot of people
I agree 100%.
See these really, really wealthy people and they think, but here's the sad,
these are things that most of us will never be able to do.
Right, and that's the sad truth. The sad truth is that the majority of people that follow and watch a lot of these celebrities and really wealthy people, I think it's hard for them to grasp that unless they really have a plan and they're really going. The majority of people who are wealthy, they're wealthy because they're go-getters.
Sure.
Not all of them, but the majority of them, I don't think you can become rich or wealthy, especially more quote-unquote self-made, although I think that's kind of a myth to some extent as well.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But the key with people who are, they're so envious of these other people, but I don't think they realize all the other stuff that goes into it.
Yes.
I
think you hit on something there. I think where the money comes from is a key also to
if it's inherited versus
no one respects someone that that's that's grandpa was started at Heinz or started Ford or whatever. No, and it's like you're like the third in line. No one like is like, wow, that person made it by themselves. They're a real
right.
And but that's idea of self-made is really is more respected, and it's like, okay, that person came from nothing. They, first of all, I think they need people. There's more respect also when people have some sort of understanding of what it is like to.
Right. Well, that's the other issue. You're absolutely right.
Kim Kardashian seems so like, with that post that she did about the private island with all of her friends and getting everyone tested and quarantining everyone and stuff. I don't have a problem with her doing that, but it definitely, I do think there is something about the flaunting of it, that I'm like do you not even realize how people are gonna. I mean, maybe you don't care. But it's just like not, it seems tone deaf and just like, it's like, why do you have to say anything? The flaunting of it is where I get confused.
But I
don't even get mad. I'm just like, you didn't have, like, this didn't have to be done.
True.
You could have just done that.
True.
And no one could have known.
Low key, and that's a good point. Absolutely. As we mentioned, though, I think jealousy plays a big role. But
yes,
a lot of people also who look at rich people in this light, also, I don't think they think think enough about wealth and what it means to be wealthy either. I tend to believe, because a lot of the more
What do you mean by what it means to be wealthy?
I
What
think
does it mean
I
to be
think
wealthy?
I think a lot of people have very varying definitions of what wealthy is and what rich is. And what I mean by this is that a lot of middle class, lower middle class, or poor people tend to
have a skewed view of,
yes,
like, maybe just because you see someone on TV doesn't mean they're rich.
right.
Or, just because they're, that's essentially.
Yep, that's exactly what I mean, 100%.
Or just because they're, like a famous YouTuber, it doesn't mean they're technically rich or whatever.
Right, and some of them could be.
Sure.
But I think a lot of, even the YouTubers, they work hard.
But that's the thing. It's more of that's why I think it's more of the perception of wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Instagramification of life,
right.
almost, where it's like, it's not even about, I mean, it is about having money. That is a lot easier to have the perception of wealth as real.
That also, brings up the idea of clout. Having like a following and making and monetizing a lot.
That's actually another good one. Just because you're on TV doesn't mean you're rich. Just because you have a lot of followers doesn't mean you're rich. Because I think that's another big one.
And on the inverse, I think you can also be very wealthy and not have a huge social media presence.
Sure, of course. I mean, most like executives are not like at like your normal companies are not deep into Twitter and Instagram.
Right.
They're just normal.
Right. Most likely not. They're probably spending their time doing other things.
Yeah.
That's the other issue. People don't understand that a lot of wealth and becoming rich, not that I'm rich by any means. I'm not trying to, broadcast that I am, because I'm definitely not by any means. But I think a lot of people need to understand that it takes a lot of times, strategic planning, working long hours. Really, a lot of people don't understand just the aspect of putting in the work.
Yeah.
They just see all they see are the results. It's kind of like that iceberg picture, that really famous iceberg picture where you see like success, and then you see like, there might be like some things over the water, above the surface you can see.
Yeah.
Right? But then all the other stuff below the water that is completely oblivious to you, and you have no idea that, this person, like people they glorify people like Elon Musk and Bill Gates or Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
And the truth is these guys are all super successful, obviously, that goes without saying, but a lot of it is because they put in just ungodly amount of hours and work in the beginning. And probably a lot of them still to this day. So that makes a huge difference. And a lot of Americans, I think they just assume, I think some of this also, Jared, comes from entitlement. They think, well, I want to be rich. I want to have all these things. Right.
And they don't know what it means to work hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a big one.
I think it is weird that like, like a lot of executives of companies are like, I feel like, it's not recognized that there is a skill involved there. Like, people think that like you're just, I don't know. I feel like there is sort of a lack of, I don't want to say respect, like you have to be like, oh wow, like bow down to these people,
right?
But just awareness of what it takes.
And
but then
I do think you have to respect him, though.
But then there's the another side of wealth, but not these, because I think what you're talking about is a lot of like these more stealth wealth people that are like like you're talking about, like Bill Gates. He's rich, and we know about it only because he owns he used to own a company
right.
that everyone is very aware of.
Right.
But he's not really. I mean, I guess he's doing things to put himself in the limelight. I don't mean to mean he's not, but I mean to say like he's I don't know. Or let's leave. Bill Gates is not a great example, but like Warren Buffett, like everyone knows he's rich, but he's not on Instagram.
Right.
He's not tweeting. Like he's not even tweeting like tips, like even like Gary V, for example. He's not like tweeting tips on success or anything like that. Like it is like it's like. I feel like there's a lot of wealth like that you're talking about that like people don't even really like. You don't even know that these who's rich. Yeah. But then there's like the Instagram culture. There's the hip hop culture where where like there needs like you need to know they're rich almost for that clout to be there.
Yep. It's a like, status thing.
But I think a lot of that, especially from the hip hop world, is something of like that. It is a counterculture, as we've talked about. Hip hop, it started as a counterculture. I think some of that is like we're showing the white people, like we're not almost like we're not playing by your rules, and like we've broken free of like the sort of like the oppression a little bit. So I feel like it is almost like a little bit of a statement in that way. Now maybe that statement has gotten maybe I'm overthinking it, and I think that's definitely gotten perverted a little bit in today's Instagram culture. But I do feel like where that started from is a little bit of like not playing by your rules, and we're making money our own way kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I agree. A lot of Americans also, and I'm thinking of especially like people that were like Trump supporters that were more less educated and maybe weren't doing too good for themselves financially. I would also say some of that is, as we've said, jealousy.
Sure.
Maybe entitlement a little bit, and self-projection, I think, is another big one.
It is funny though, because there always is some sort of like sign, like every community has their signs of wealth. And if I just thought about that Trump supporter thing that you said, where it's like. It just made me think about pickup trucks.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
like pickup trucks these days are essentially luxury cars.
Yep.
That can tow a boat,
Right.
And I just think about like the platinum editions, the Longhorn editions.
Expensive,
yeah, you can get
too.
like a $80,000 truck that has like all the luxury amenities of like a Mercedes or something like that.
Right. You
And
can buy an okay house for $80,000 in a lot of places in the U.S.
And there are and I think there are always sort of these signs of wealth where it's like you don't respect some kind of flaunting of wealth, but that's only more because you don't like the person, not
Right.
because you necessarily have a problem with wealth.
I will also say this too, Jared. This was a point I wanted to bring up today, is that I have a feeling that depending on the type of government / economic system a country has, heavily influences the way people perceive and view wealth. So, for example, in the U.S., because we are a very capitalist country, I think that's why we really prioritize wealth as pretty important, right? But I think if you look at countries that have more social programs, have more welfare programs,
right, where you're
also
not as reliant on your personal money for things that here in the U.S. where we need
Right.
to have that good money for.
And not only that, but you also have, you have the safety net to some degree, but you also pay more money in taxes, right? Like I think the idea for most Americans to give up half their salary in taxes to help support infrastructure and healthcare and education, most Americans would not go for that.
Yeah, but that's because most Americans are very individualistic.
Right? But that
Yeah,
brings me to my
that's
point.
true. Yeah.
That's my point.
I
guess.
don't think that's a good thing.
Right. Right. Me neither. I just think that's just kind of how it is.
But
Whereas
like,
if you
we really don't care about other people. As it feels like,
right,
even in our own community, like our own country.
Right. Yeah. Well, then you look at I kind of view it as a spectrum, right? Of so we have the capitalist side on one side in the U.S. Then if you kind of go more towards Europe, it's a little bit different, right? Because they do have more social programs. They have healthcare for everybody. It's just a different system over there, right?
Yeah.
So I think being wealthy, to some extent, I think some people over there get a bad reputation because they are viewed kind of as greedy or what have you. If you're wealthier over there, over here, I think it's more glorified in the States than it is in Europe. Like if you're really wealthy, I think.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they definitely, at least in Europe, they don't talk about work as much as we do here.
Exactly.
Like that's a common starter question for people here. What do you do? And that's kind of gauche.
Exactly. Whereas, and then I think in the East, it's even different. I think in the Middle East, it's completely different. And I think in Asia, it's also very different with wealth.
I mean, I can imagine in China, I mean, I don't know. Actually, I take that back. I don't know. I don't know how wealth will be looked at. But I feel like in a communist country, wealth is not really looked upon, fondly. But
well, I think
China is very they're a very industrial country with a lot of economic growth. So it's like someone's making money.
Well, wealth over there, I think the main goal is to, in theoretically, at least I think this is what the party over there views wealth as, is a way to grow the country and help more people. Now, I could be wrong about this, but at least that seems to be
but that's the capitalist myth too.
That's true. That's a good point. But
is that by someone being rich, they're employing people,
right.
and then those people are supporting their families by this rich person.
Right. But I think it's interesting that that many people do vilify wealthy people. Or they're viewed in this kind of negative light where it's like, we don't even know these people. We don't know.
You know why? Because I feel like, especially now, maybe not like if you're making $1 million, $2 million a year, but if you start getting into like the hundreds of millions
or
of
billions.
dollars, I think there's a strong belief that something shady had to go down somewhere in the process.
Right.
There's no way you can get to this
money
without some dark stuff happening somewhere in the process.
Right.
I feel like that people strongly believe that. It's like, what sort of child labor are you exploiting?
Mm-hmm.
What sort of other people have you like sort of squashed under you? What sort of companies have you bought up only to just to sort of own an area or
right.
something like there's some sort of something
how
gross
true
somewhere.
Is that? I wonder.
I don't know.
Because I wonder. I have no idea. And it could be true, but
I feel like it's true on a certain level because I mean there's a lot of I feel like most corporations that are multi-million billion-dollar corporations, there's some if we talk about the idea of corporate social responsibility and the idea of what a company's responsibility are to their people, to the environment, to the community that this company is in. Somewhere along all those lines, I think in a lot of these very large corporations, it could get shady somewhere.
Yeah, maybe.
There's whether it's how much you pollute or how workers get exploited in another country for your product to be built.
Right. Yeah, there's always drawbacks, I guess. You're right.
I feel like in order to even have a company that builds something at a scale where you could be making that level of money, there has to be something that if you knew like the full process, you'd be like, oh, I don't like that.
Right.
But also, will that stop people? Probably not. I mean, that's the thing about also like the perception of wealth,
mm-hmm.
where it's like people will talk about like for example, like a company or like a celebrity, like saying like, oh, you should support this cause, and it's like, oh, but you're Nike or you're sponsored by Nike,
right?
And they have, they like exploit children and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And once again, I feel like that is just a tool for people they don't like, because it's like, oh, so you don't wear all your clothes are made in America,
right,
with good living wages, and everything you consume has been made ethically at every step of the way. It's like,
probably not. Most likely not.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the idea of policing people? How much people donate? And I'm talking like Bezos level, or even forget it. Even just mildly rich. You don't have to be Bezos rich.
I don't think it's right to police how people donate. But I will say, I think if you're making such a crazy amount of money like that, maybe there should be some higher tax rates.
But
that's just my opinion.
If I started making, I don't know, $20 million a year, let's
mm-hmm.
say. Conservatively speaking.
Conservatively, right.
And, obviously I was living very comfortably.
Mm-hmm.
I bought a house. I didn't ball out or anything. I didn't go crazy.
Right.
I bought a house that I can live in and all that stuff with cash.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saving money. I'm investing. I'm growing my wealth.
Right.
But I'm not donating anything. Like I don't
mm-hmm.
donate anything. No
right.
charities, nothing.
Right.
Would you look at me sort of sideways and be like, would that sort of make you not question our friendship? Maybe that's a little aggressive. Would that make you be like, that's kind of gross?
I don't know. It's hard to say, to be honest.
If I'm like, listen, what this is, I earned this myself. I don't have to. No one has to tell me to donate it.
Exactly. I mean, that's. I totally see that reason for it.
Yeah. I mean, I do. But I feel like, and that's. I'm in no way condoning like telling someone how to spend their money or being like you should be giving that money away. But I feel like if it was a close friend, I might look at you sideways if you were just like some sort of wealthy hoarder and you like didn't take portions of that and find ways to try to donate
that also
help communities or something. I don't know.
That also boils down to our kind of cultural perceptions, right? Where I would say in the States, we wouldn't look down on someone as much as someone abroad, especially in like a more
I'd
communal
say it does
society.
Get looked down on here, but I'd say
it's even more so, I think, in other places.
The idea of just storing wealth.
Right. I think a lot of Americans, you'd get a side eye, but other countries, I think people would really view you very differently in a more negative light, would be my assumption. But I'm not 100% sure on that. But I would, it's hard to say.
I think athletes have it hard when it comes. I mean, listen, I'm not losing any sleep over it, but I feel like athletes get it hard as far as like commentary about, or even actors too, about like people that they almost feel like stuff like actors or any sort of artist or not any sort of, but a lot of artists, maybe not musicians because that's something clear that you can do or not do, but like there's a lot of athletes for sure and maybe actors where it's like no one really respects their wealth, where it's like, oh, like, anyone, almost like, not anyone can do that, but I feel like, oh, you're just doing a dumb sport, or, oh, you're just, like, acting, and anyone could do that. And it's I feel like, once again, maybe it goes back to that, like, like, how you earned it, You didn't earn it the right way, especially if you're not, like, especially if you're not donating it,
Right.
If you're just, like, flaunting it. I feel like I don't.
It's not for the right reasons if you flaunt it.
I feel like I don't have a problem to say that I find that gross. People that flaunt their money.
Right.
I feel like you don't feel that way.
Well, I would disagree with you. I don't like people who flaunt their money.
If I showed up here at your house with a Rolls Royce Ghost, would you be like, oh, cool, my friend is a Rolls Royce?
I mean, I would be like, yo, we're going. For
obviously you want to go for a ride, but.
I mean, it's your life and your money, man. I don't know.
Every time we hang out, I pull up in a new flashy car, and I'm like, all right, let's go through valet.
I mean, I'd probably give you some shit for it for sure, because I think that's a little unnecessary.
And I'm wearing like a $5,000 suit every time you see me. All of a sudden, you're just like, hey, he's my friend though. That's how he lives. You wouldn't be like, this is kind of gross.
I mean, I would
if I started calling women doll or something like that. Hey, listen, doll, can you grab me a?
I would start calling you sport like the Great Gatsby, and then I don't know. Well, but see that
I realize
you're
I'm exaggerating.
Right, you're changing your entire persona.
I'm turning into like Dan Bilzerian or something like that.
Exactly. So that's a little different. But I mean, if you rolled up in a new car every time you came here. The way I would view it, because I know you like cars, I would just be like, well, it's his money. He likes cars.
But even as a car person, I feel like I'd find that kind of gross,
Right. Well, I guess that would be like me, if you came over and I was like, check out this 1934 Martin that I bought that was 20 grand,
Yeah. I mean, you act like you kind of do that now, to be fair. They're just not 20 grand.
Right. Well, and that's me building them and assembling them. So it's a little different. Different kind of pride, Jared.
Yeah.
I'm trying to flex on my guitar learning, building skills here, not my wealth. But yeah, I think if you flex with your wealth for flex sake, it's kind of lame.
For flex sake.
Yeah, there you go. New
flexing for flex sake.
That's right.
Oh my God, I
need phrase
I
for
hope
you.
I can remember that.
Flexing for
that notepad, right?
Right, flexing for flex sake, man. Yeah, but
flex.
But I also don't think it's right if you are really wealthy to tell you how to donate your money or what to do with your money.
Yeah.
But I think some of that's because I grew up as an American.
I understand. I mean, you can't tell people what to do,
right?
But I don't respect it, I would say.
Right. Yeah, that's.
I don't know. I feel like if I had that much money, I feel like I don't know. I don't even. I get nervous saying this. Not that I'm anywhere close to being able to ball out like this, because I am super frugal. Like I don't buy a lot of stuff, but like I feel so I wonder it like just because I have millions instead of thousands, would that change?
Right. Well, you would hope not. I would hope that. I mean, it will change a lot in your life, but I hope
Well, I hope it would, though. But I hope I would become a little less frugal with my money,
Right.
and like be like, all right, theoretically, I know that I could give this much, give away, $1 million to this organization
Right.
that I really care about, and it's not really going to make that big of a difference
Right.
in the long haul.
Well, there's a
but
really
it's like, yeah, but that's still a noticeable chunk.
Yeah. Well, there's a really famous kind of financial guru. I'm sure you know about him, Dave Ramsey, where
I've
he
heard the name,
where
yeah.
he talks a lot about, one of the reasons why you work hard to build wealth is so you can give back. But he's also an evangelical Christian, so that's a big part of his faith. But faith or not, either way, I think that the sentiment should still be the
Sure,
same.
yeah.
That if you are in a position to help others, money, regardless what it is, money, time, knowledge.
Essentially, don't flex for flex's sake. So, like,
Right.
don't just, like, if you're going to build wealth, have some sort of, like, well, at least what this guy, it seems like he's saying, is, like, have some goal,
Right.
Not just for flex's sake.
Right. Yeah, you're doing it for some good.
Yeah.
That's I think that is what can change a lot of people's perceptions on wealth, but also I think when especially I remember just being a kid and what you understand as being quote unquote rich versus when you become an adult is very different.
Yeah, once you have
right.
Yeah, you can conceive bills and all that stuff.
Right.
Like,
and so
wait,
I think
okay.
that's an important aspect piece of the puzzle too, is just having a basic understanding of the value of money and hard work.
Yeah.
And putting in the hours, putting in the work.
Well, see, that's also a problem with that perception thing. At least for, forget, I guess, Bezos level, but for a lot of levels of people that are poor or who either, you perceive to be poor or rich, like, you don't really know these people's financials. So even someone that's like not like a millionaire could still be, in a lot of debt.
Right.
Like for example, our lame duck president, as of this afternoon, is built his reputation and career on the perception of wealth.
Yep.
Now, no one can verify whether this wealth is real. He's had lawsuits in the past for not properly paying people. He said he
Right.
was going to pay.
Yep.
But he still has been able to maintain this perception of wealth, which is almost
Yeah.
more important than having the money.
Yeah, but that's also flex into flex.
Oh yeah,
You know?
he's a flex king. I mean, we've seen his
Right, no
his
kidding.
gold house or
No kidding.
his gold penthouse
toilets.
suite or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, he maybe he had the money to buy that, but it's like, all right, he spent all of his money and then some for that, and then it's like, all right, well now he's not, he has the stuff, but but now that's why he loves McDonald's so much.
I also have
I'm
one.
making this up,
I
by the way.
also have one last little thought about perceptions of wealth, and kind of this idea of, in the States I think we really value money as a way to obtain material possessions, but also obtain happiness, right? I mean, yes, we do have the phrase money can't buy happiness, but I know personally plenty of Americans who disagree with that statement.
Well, scientists claim that there's a certain essentially the level is
There's
once
a
you
base
can
level,
comfortably
right.
pay your bills.
I mean, I'll
to
be
live in a home.
I'll be honest. I think when I reach six figures, I think as long as I don't have serious lifestyle creep where I have to keep buying the next nicest car, next nicest house, next nicest whatever, for me it would probably honestly be more next nicest music equipment.
By
if we're
six
being
figures,
honest.
do you mean what, $999,000?
I mean, if you give me $100,000. That's six figures, $100,000.
See where you. That's too,
All right, here.
That's way too simple.
So
because where are you living?
Okay, here. I'll let me
'Cause I'm not
elaborate
living in
for
New
you.
York.
Let me elaborate
or San
for you.
Francisco on $100,000.
Give me six figures in Michigan, and I have a feeling if you give me $100,000, or if I earn, let me put it that way.
You're not going
If I
to live in
earn-
Birmingham. You're not going to live in Bloomfield Hills.
Probably not. No.
You're not going to live. Maybe you could probably live in Ann Arbor.
Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to be thrifty, but I do think as a single guy with no kids, I do have some student loan debt that I'm hoping to have paid off fairly soon.
You also don't
know.
mind living in like a more rural area.
Nope, I kind of like it to be honest.
Yeah, and so but you're talking $100,000 a year.
Yeah,
Obviously not.
I'm
just
saying
one payment.
if I'm if I'm making six figures a year, I think I would be pretty comfortable, pretty happy. I'd be cool with that for sure.
Okay.
Now I don't think I would consider myself rich. Now I would like to not consider, but I would like to be in a position where I'm saving some and
Now-
making responsible financial decisions.
If you're making $100,000 a year,
Uh-huh.
I wonder what percentile that puts you in. You know,
Well, but see,
like
that's
got to put you in probably like the top 10%, top 5%.
well. Here's the thing, Jared. I think worldwide,
well, you're
that
top
puts
1%.
you top 1%.
But I mean, that's why I said
probably.
the U.S. because
Right.
worldwide, you're. I mean, even making less than that, you're top 1%.
Right. Well, I think poverty level at the U.S. you'd be pretty comfortable in a lot of other countries.
Yeah,
Like if you made
sure,
20,000 or less
Yeah.
in another country, you're doing pretty good. You know, you're living
it
fairly
depends on
comfortable.
where you're at, but yeah,
Right.
sure.
But that's the thing though is I think a lot of Americans we view wealth as a way to be happy, whereas I think other countries they view money more as a way to, like, I'm just thinking more so of the Chinese people I know. It just seems like their motivations for wealth are slightly different than Americans. I don't see the flexing as much over there. Now there is some there, but I just don't see it.
Chinese drip.
Right. Well, they just have
But that's
different
just,
drip
that's
over
style.
there.
That's not
Right.
even. You don't. I mean, those clothes don't have to be insanely expensive.
And they're usually not. A lot of the Chinese people I know, they prefer to find
some of my favorite
stylish
clothes right
stuff
now have come
for
from
cheap.
a thrift shop.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think we value different things. You know, some people I think they do sadly have this idea that they need to get it off the rack, or not even off the rack, but get.
I mean,
these
our
name
culture
brands.
is so built on the bring myself up by the bootstraps,
Right.
by the grind all day, #grind
Right.
all day. So that's what. So yeah, I'm wealthy, but I'm working every day and night. I work for this. Nobody
Right.
gave me anything.
That's right.
And it's like that's respected.
You gotta hit that ham horn a couple times when I'm getting fired up.
Hey, you got a problem with it? Try working half as hard as I do. That sort of mentality.
Right.
And I'm not saying that's not all bad. I mean, that stuff can be motivating. Some people do need to be motivated and need that discipline. But like, when you see, I feel like in the U.S. when you see someone like that that's also a millionaire, it's like, yeah, well, that person, yeah, they earned it,
Right. Oh, definitely.
But it's like, why is I don't know, why is. Yeah, it's just we pick and choose who can be rich, essentially.
Right. Yeah, or at least how. Well, I would say the media kind of picks and chooses who they.
I'd say people, because everyone's a fan of something,
Yeah, that's true. That's if you care enough. I think some people just don't.
Sure,
don't
some
care,
people probably don't care.
I
feel like everyone. I feel like, but no, actually, I take that back. I feel like, especially in our culture, it's impossible not to have, at least, even if you keep them to yourself. I feel like it's almost impossible not to. I mean, in anyone's culture, to take into their financial situation as like
Right.
a sort of a judgment factor.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. I will say this though. I do think a lot of the jealousy and the hatred for rich people, I do think it's a little unfair and unwarranted, regardless if they're greedy or not.
Sure.
I don't think it's really fair to point the finger and judge people that you've never met. You don't know how they.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't really know how this money's been made,
Right.
like it is kind of. Yeah, I agree with you. It's kind of hypocritical.
And even if you do, who are you to?
I mean, I feel like you can judge if you. I feel like once again, it's got to be like Jesus or God style.
Right.
He or Jesus, I don't know who said it. He who hasn't sinned cast that's Jesus. He who hasn't sinned cast the first stone.
Right.
Or it's like, it's easy to judge, but it's like, you're probably going to be a hypocrite in some form. Like,
Right.
And if no, the only reason why you're not is no one can call you out because nobody knows who you are.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Well, Jared, I think we should, unless you have anything else to share.
I have one question for you,
Okay.
Chad.
Yes.
How much is too much? Is there a number? And now, or a range?
Oh, good question. I would say how much is too much is when you. Yes and no. Let me put it that way. Yes and no. I think too much is when you are making so much money and you're not doing something with it, either to enrich your life or the lives of others, to the point where it's just. I guess I couldn't tell you a number, Jared. I'm trying to think of one, and I couldn't tell you like a set number.
I'm starting to feel. No, I'm not going to say that.
That's a good question, though. I need to think about it more. That's a really good question.
I don't want to.
You kind of got me stumped here, buddy. I'm not going to lie.
I'm stumping myself,
right?
Because I certainly feel like there's a level of wealth where it's like, and it's maybe it's not even that I have a problem. I have a limit.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say there's probably going to be a point where I start side eyeing people and not I'll start losing respect for someone based on how they use their money or don't use it. Rather.
Yeah, that's the key right there. I think that maybe answers our question.
So maybe I don't want to put a cap on how much money someone could make because maybe like Bill Gates uses a lot of his money for good. It seems like
right.
So it's like I wouldn't want to stop that from happening.
Right.
But but it's like. So I guess it more depends on maybe that ratio of how the money, like how much you make versus how it's used. Because it's like if you're making, $50,000 a year and you live in Philadelphia, I don't expect you to be like contributing a lot to charities and stuff. But if you're making millions, it's like once you're making like hundreds of millions or something like that, or even tens of millions, it's like, and you're not even considering donations,
right? It's
or where
silly.
you could, or like where you could see change, like you have no interest in any change,
or even helping out some of your friends or family.
Exactly, you don't know anyone that has some sort of disease that you want to maybe help with some research towards or anything like that. You can't think of anything.
Anything, yeah, right. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's the key is what you don't do with that money.
Yeah.
Is kind of where that limit might be because
maybe I won't judge someone outwardly, but I'll probably judge the person inwardly, and I would probably side eye that person if it was my friend and I witnessed them just like sort of just knowingly decide that they don't care about any sort of
right.
I was like, really, you don't care about anything? Maybe it just makes me reconsider what I thought about someone's personality if that was my friend.
Or their character.
Or it's like I thought maybe there was something that you cared about. Something.
Right. Especially their character.
Yeah.
Well, Jared, you mentioned that's a great way to end the segment. I think is with that question. Where is the limit? That's definitely something to consider. But you mentioned before we started recording, how hip hop is, and actually you talked about it a little bit during the episode too, how hip hop has a lot to do with wealth. Here at the Untranslatable podcast, we really try to find a lot of music from very different artists, from different countries, different styles that mesh different styles too. And today we definitely have an interesting one. It is a Korean rap song called Eureka. It's by the artist Zico featuring Zion T. And let's give this bad boy a listen and talk about it for a bit, Jared.
All right.
So it's got the first thing you said I remember was sax.
It sounds almost like can you pause it for a second?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a variation on that.
What is that?
Like at the beginning of NBA Street, they use it a lot.
Okay,
but it's just like a very common beat.
What's funny about this video,
it's like a jazzy sort of beat that's commonly used as a hip hop cover. But it's not that. But it sounds like that's
but
the
it has
vibe
that similar vibe for sure. Yeah, this is funny though because it's got the lyrics as well. And apparently, "Big Booty Girl" is one of the lyrics. Let's see here. Yep,
booty girl.
But yeah, so this song is in Korean, kind of Korean and in English.
Mostly, he uses like English like catchphrases,
right? Like where
big
you
booty
at,
girl, where you at, where you at,
right? I think that's a trope we see in a lot of foreign hip hop.
Yeah, and I think it's because these are words that are for the most part universally known,
right?
And so it's like it just gives you a broader range of words to use,
right? And it's interesting to see how the English words rhyme with the Korean words.
And I wonder if there is
something.
I wonder, and I'm not trying to brag here, but I wonder if there is something cool
probably
about using English words
I would
in like
say
a Korean song or something like that.
I mean, we saw that with that Icelandic rap song a while back we had, using American words or English words, I should say.
Yeah, we see it a lot, yeah.
Right.
That's true.
But I mean, this one is like...
I just don't want to sound arrogant, you know?
Right. This one, though, I could see like bumping at a party or like in your car, just like with the beat and then the sax or horns over top. It's fantastic.
It's got that very, very like a party vibe to it with the beat.
Right, the beat. I kind of like
bass line.
I like to refer to these types of beats as kind of bouncy.
Good, they're very good to dance to.
Yeah,
grind up on some big booty girl.
Yeah, exactly. That might have to be a clip right there, dude. That is hilarious. But I mean, you're right. But that's the funny thing is, from American culture, it's kind of moved outwards now.
Yeah,
with hip hop, and you see this all over the place.
American culture is like an export.
Right, that's true.
So like the
Where you
idea
at?
of like what do you call it when it's like appropriating that,
Right.
and not even that that's a bad thing, by the way. Just
Right.
like that's what you kind of do with,
Or adapting it.
especially if
to-
you're like hip hop, is an
Right.
American thing or something. But with that comes the culture that goes with it.
Right. But I like this, and especially the lyric video, just because you can see
Yeah.
see what they're
Yeah.
saying too. But yeah, it's
Can you be my what?
That's a Korean word.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what it means. But check this song out on our Song of the Pod playlist.
And the way that it goes down for a second, it gets in like
Right.
it's quiet.
I mean, this definitely is a
and then
club
it's like,
banger
go
for
back
sure.
into it.
Yep. I mean, this is definitely good, like dance floor type of. Yep, with the drops. Yep, for sure. Absolutely fantastic. But yeah,
Yeah.
check this out at our YouTube channel, our Song of the Pod playlist.
betcha.
Zico, Eureka featuring Zion T. And if you've never heard Korean rap before, it's pretty interesting. It's cool. So
Yeah.
check that out. That's
Koreans
for
get
sure.
a lot of notice for their pop. That's
Right, K-pop's
that's
a huge
that's
thing.
That's their big musical,
Which is
what they're known for.
Which is interesting because it's kind of like their take on boy bands that happened here in the 90s.
it does.
So
it
it's like
does
20
seem-
years late.
It does seem a little outdated,
But it has their own style and flair. So
Sure.
I think for us Americans, especially as American dudes, it's very outdated in
Yeah.
a way we view it, right? But I think there are a lot of American chicks who do enjoy K-pop. I mean,
Sure.
the guys, they're decent looking dudes, especially if you're into Asian
and
guys.
the songs aren't terrible, but I
Right.
guess, and it's for like younger. That's like for
Right,
kids.
that's also true too. We are kind of old to
Yeah.
be talking about K-pop chicks.
like I think they're trying to appeal to like 16-year-old
Right.
girls.
A lot
not
of my
us.
Russian students really liked them. Some guys and girls, but
Yeah.
they were also on an island where a lot of the population
Actually,
is
yeah, I don't
Korean
even mean to say
heritage.
girls because actually, when I lived in Germany, I like some Epic High songs. They're kind of an older
Right.
K-pop group, and one of my Korean friends, Tae Young, he told me about them, and I downloaded a couple songs
Nice.
from LimeWire, and I'm like,
There you
"Alright,
go.
Okay, I don't hate
Nice.
it." And I grooved out to this for a bit, so I don't even want to just put it on little girls.
Right.
Because
That's fair. But yeah, so check it out. It's definitely a good song. Eureka. That's a cool song title. Yeah, so let's just end today's episode by recapping a little bit on wealth perceptions, Jared. I think one of my takeaways from our discussion definitely was that a lot of it has to do with how you earn that wealth and what you do with it.
Yeah.
So if are you donating to charity? I think a lot of it too is we realize that when you build so much wealth, you should be using it for a higher goal, a better cause.
There's
right?
also the thing about, it's interesting because it's not just how you use it. I was been thinking because if you also I feel like they don't want you to talk, like they really don't want you to talk about it. Like you kind of gotta, for the best way for the public is that you find out from someone else, because I feel like people are
that's
also
true.
disgusted if
That's a
you're
good
like,
point.
I donated blah 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 million to the Jared Minor wing at this.
Right.
I built I built the Jared Minor School for Underprivileged Children or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
Where it's like I feel like, I guess it's not hated, but it's like it's also kind of gross because there's still kind of a flaunt. Like you're almost using that as like a like virtue. Like look how good I
Right.
am.
Right.
Where it's still kind of gross. So I feel like the only way that I feel like the mass social media public will accept it is if like it somehow comes out secretly,
Right. Right.
You got to
Yeah.
secretly leak it so people find out that you're a good person.
Well, I think the key with that is you're not just broadcasting it yourself, because I think if you're
Yeah.
self-promoting, it does come off as
because then it's like,
what are your intentions?
Yeah, exactly. Do you really? Yeah, it's great that you gave all this money or whatever, but do you really care about these people, or is
Right.
it just like
But
trying to gain?
But at the end of the day, I guess, does it really matter?
I don't think
I
it matters
don't
at the
know.
end of the day, but I still think it's kind of gross.
Yeah.
Where it's like you give $5 million to whatever it is, and you're like,
Right.
everyone, look, I gave this much money, and then say you're scrolling through Twitter and you're like, oh, no one's even talking about me anymore.
Right.
Oh, so this person said it's not enough. Oh, f this person. If you go through,
that leaves a
and you're like, oh
nasty
no,
taste in your
one's not
mouth.
happy about it.
Right.
It's not enough for you ungrateful people. Where it's like, well, it's not. Then it's not even about that. You're just
Right.
if you're looking for the response.
Exactly.
Granted,
Exactly.
how would the average person
Right.
know that someone's scrolling through their social media. I guess maybe you could if you see someone like if you see actually you could. You definitely see
totally
people like
could.
replying to haters.
Right.
That's never a good look.
Nope.
Replying to
Nope.
haters.
Yeah, don't do that,
Valtteri
for sure.
Bottas, he's the sort of the number 2 driver for Mercedes. Each team
And he shouts out the haters. He replies to them.
He actually did one race because everyone talks about how he's like a great number 2 to Hamilton, and how he's not really like that good, and the only reason they have him is because he's number 2. And a couple races ago, he won and he beat Hamilton, and everyone can hear everyone's radios,
Right.
And he said to all my haters, I just have a message to all. Oh no, to all the critics, I have a message for you. Fuck you.
That's hilarious. But see, that's a different kind of flex right there, too.
I mean, granted, I feel like he's also a professional race car driver, and
Right.
people are just talking. So that, I mean, I don't know how seriously he's really taking that, but still,
Right.
I'd say still, as far as the crowd goes, I'd say on the whole, it's not a great look.
Definitely not.
Because
No.
I feel like the best look is to ignore the haters.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, my other takeaway too from our discussion, Jared, is that a lot of people will. I think they project themselves on that wealthy person, and they become jealous or envious because they don't have all these nice things. Yet they fail to realize that they didn't do all the work and aren't willing to work hard enough to do that.
And there's nothing wrong with admitting, I think, that luck is involved too.
Sure. Right, but I saw a quote, I forget which Greek philosopher it was, but they had a quote about that luck is really just a combination of preparation
and timing.
And timing, exactly. So if you don't put yourself in a position,
That's
you
true.
can't get
You still
lucky.
have to- yeah.
Which makes sense. I mean,
like even maybe like a comedian or something that gets like their big break with a special. It's like if you don't deliver on that special and it's not good, and no
Right.
one and it gets bad reviews or whatever, and no one wants to watch it, then
Right.
it's like, well, now that's your first time you're out in public, and now you have to fight an uphill battle to prove that you're not that bad or whatever.
Right. So I would say before you judge somebody's wealth, take a look at yourself. That would be my ending
Look
for
inward.
today.
I feel like that's almost like the, what do you call it? The mantra of the Untranslatable podcast.
Yeah.
The motto. I feel like
Other
a
than
lot
stay hydrated. That's
Well,
another important
sure.
mantra for sure.
I feel like that's the motto
for
maybe.
sure.
But I feel like
Stay hydrated.
I feel like something about yes. Oh, my battery's about to die. Oh, it's right here. It's not even. I just have to do that.
Boom.
Then I stay hydrated. I feel like that really is the mantra, though. Is like look inward first. I feel like that ends up being what we come out of this a lot of episodes thinking.
Yeah, which isn't a bad thing though. And I think both of us, I don't think our goal is to reach that crazy level. Well, I can't speak for you, but my goal, I will tell you, my goal isn't to reach that crazy level of wealth, because I understand you have to put in such crazy amounts of work.
Yeah.
That I'm sorry,
Well,
I don't want to work 80 hours a week. I don't.
At my job, like my little department, not actually big department within the company, we got a chance to. Oh, I told you about this. We had a meeting with the CEO.
Right.
Because I told you about it because the guy ordered burgers on the call and interrupted her.
Yep.
But
Smooth.
But anyway,
He's going places.
Like I was listening, people were asking her like sort of what her routine is, and she's talking about how having a routine is important.
Right.
And she was talking about how like.
How many hours a week does she work? She has to work an ungodly.
She didn't really talk about how many hours a week she worked, but I'm sure she's probably not calling it a day until 7, 8 o'clock at the earliest.
Right.
And probably waking up, getting started at probably 6, 7.
Or 8. Yeah.
And she was talking about how she said she tries her hardest to not work on Saturday. But by Sunday morning, she's preparing for the week. So she essentially has like
it's kind of what I do.
A 6.5 day work week, like she, essentially.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's
like I don't know if I'm willing to do that.
Right. It's a lot.
I enjoy being able to essentially
relax,
fully disconnect on a Saturday and Sunday.
Yep. Yeah, and do this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually
no kidding.
Yeah. And so it's like. Am I willing to even do what it takes to make tens of millions of dollars?
Right.
Even though in my head, I guess I like the idea of it. But honestly, I don't even really think I like the idea of it.
It's romanticized a lot, though, too.
I don't think I like the idea of it for the purpose of buying stuff. Because I feel like I still would struggle with flaunting. Now, I'm sure I would have a nice car or something.
Right.
But I would struggle with still showing stuff. I feel like I would like to think that, but I feel like I would get a deep sense of enjoyment out of the hoarding of that much money.
Yeah,
opening my like even now, like I'm not rich, but I guess I'm doing okay. I get a sense of enjoyment out of just looking at my bank account.
Sure.
So I feel like that. Imagine if I would add millions of dollars.
Right.
I feel like.
But I think then at that level you'd get a deeper. At that level, I don't think you would get enjoyment out of it because it's become so commonplace that I think you would get more enjoyment out of doing something.
But I feel like
with
I'd
some of
get
that.
I feel like there'd be some sort of deep enjoyment about the idea of like they say that 70 grand or whatever is sort of the line where it's like
the baseline where you're good.
it's like now money is not really buying your happiness. So it's like,
Right.
yeah, but you still have to work and you're still working. But once you're in the millions like that,
Right.
where it's like I could get fired right now
And you'd be fine.
And I'm fine.
Yep. But see, that's my point, is that money is not really much of an object to that degree. Like, in my opinion, if you can live off of the interest of your investments, where you're not taking the principal off,
Yeah.
and you don't have to.
Well, and you
you've
can
made
do
it.
that and not be millionaire rich too. Like you can set that up for yourself and not be
Yeah, that's true.
that sort of ridiculous level.
But either
of
way,
wealth.
I think that is to me that's a sign of stable wealth, where you are at the point where you don't really have to worry about money. You know what I mean? But I think when you're at that level, Jared, I mean, yes, I think looking at your bank account would maybe give you still a sense of fulfillment. But I think
No,
if you're
I think
making,
it would.
but I think if you're making so much money to that level, I think you would. Maybe I'm wrong, and I haven't been there, so it's hard for me to say.
It wouldn't be a novel. It would cease to be a novelty pretty quickly, is what you're saying.
I think so.
Like,
I
it would
think
not
you would
excite
look
me
for
after a
other
while.
exactly. Well, it's like anything. I think that's why lifestyle creep is even a thing.
and that's also why they say that money doesn't buy happiness. Too.
Right,
It's just-
definitely.
But for some reason, I'm like, I hear you, and
Definitely.
in theory, I get what you're saying.
Exactly.
But I still feel like I would feel a deep sense of comfort knowing that if I can manage the lifestyle creep part of it, I guess
Right.
I would feel a deep sense of comfort knowing,
Right.
all right, I have a savings account I haven't touched for 10 years that's just accumulating.
Right.
And I'm still putting my a part of my $5 million paycheck or whatever,
Right.
$10 million paycheck
Right.
into it I feel like that would give me a lot
Exactly.
of comfort. And I'm
For
not
sure.
even like afraid of paying bills. But there's another level of comfort, but I still know that I need to keep having a job in order to do it.
Right.
But I think there's another level of comfort above that where it's like, oh, I don't even have to concern myself with but I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe that's also just like a pipe dream, That's not realistic.
Right. Well, who knows?
I don't think that's a healthy
knows?
thing to shoot for also.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause then you're never going to be satisfied.
Right. True. Depends. But yeah, I think our takeaways for today, though, Jared, is definitely don't judge a book by its cover, or don't judge someone by their wealth, because you
betcha.
definitely don't know the way that they acquired it or got there. To some degree, or at least walk a mile in their shoes. I know it's a cliche, but it is what it is. So that's number one. Number two, look inward. I think that's related to that. And number three, as always, stay hydrated, for sure, especially in a nice, beautiful, sunny day like today. So we hope you all are having a great day. Let us know your thoughts, or kind of culturally how people view someone with crazy amounts of wealth at untranslatable.podcast@gmail.com. You can slide into our DMs on Twitter, untranslatable1, the number one on Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. Also, check us out on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast, for clips, pics, all sorts of great stuff. And lastly, please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher, and let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. So, as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, dziękujemy, muchas gracias, shisha, and do svidania. Get that paper, baby. Get that paper. That's a good one.
Stack it up.
That's right. Ooh, it's getting hot out here, man. Getting hot. I think it might be time to peep that Bayern game, too, if it's even still on.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know if it's...
I was not expecting.
I'm afraid to look at the score, because I have a feeling I'm going to look at the score and it's going to be like 8-0 Bayern.
Well, but don't you want Bayern to win?
I mean, I do,
But you enjoy the competition.
Of course. 2-1 in the 77th minute
For Bayern?
for Bayern, yeah.
Okay. See, that's not enough for them to just go full.
Well, Dortmund needs to score 2, and then Bayern will go nuts.
A 2-point
Yeah.
lead for them to do
Yeah,
that.
so you have chosen death. Exactly.
Yeah, so
Dortmund
Dortmund's
probably
coach is
knows.
like, all right,
Calm down till the 90th minute, and
Chilling.
then try to score 2.
It's a chilling.
Right.